And welcome to another edition of Gloves Off. We are here from Hollywood Smoke in Santa Monica. I'm Steve K9 Kim, joined as always by Ray Boom Boom Mancini. And our co-stars for this segment, Sinistro Cigars, are in our hands. Ray, let's get right into this. This past Saturday night from Atlantic City Boardwalk Hall for supremacy at light heavyweight for the WBA, WBO, and IBF light heavyweight title, Sergey Kovalev pitches a virtual shutout over the alien Bernard Hopkins. As we look at this fight, a couple of weeks ago we said it, that Sergey Kovalev is an underrated boxer. John David Jackson was going to be a factor, but also he's facing a 49-year-old fighter. How much credit do you give Kovalev?
I give Kovalev all the credit for two reasons. One, he made him fight like a 49-year-old. I mean, Biop come in there, had all these grand visions of grandeur, that he was going to do this, do that. That first round, when he got hit and went down,
fight's over?
In his mind, I think he said, oh, hell, I got bit off a little more than I can chew. To me, that was the end of the fight. I think when you get in the ring, you look across the ring, and you see how big Kovalev looked, but how much bigger he looked than Biop. I think Biop kind of looked, and the first round, that guy stayed on the end of that jab a little bit. Biop is one of the greats. He's always knows how he's figured guys out throughout his career, figured out how to break them down, how to get past them after a certain amount of rounds. But I think once he felt this guy's power and realized this guy was feinting him and then jabbing him, he couldn't get a rhythm himself, and he couldn't figure the guy out. I think at some point in the middle of the fight, he just said, look, man, because you heard Nazim Richardson in there pleading with him, and Biop just looked at him like looked through him. Like what he was saying had no effect, wasn't even listening to him. And I think Biop at that point realized, I'm going to just do what I do, try to take him into the later rounds, and then try to come on. The fact of the matter is, I love Biop, and I love the fact he went in there and he faced Kovalev at 49 years old. Even if it was 29 years old, fighting a guy like Kovalev is a hell of a trick. But Biop always has a gift of gab. He does the Hollywood shuffle. Well, I'm here to give the fans what they want, give the fans, he did one round. What happened to the other 11? He did absolutely nothing for 11 rounds. The last round, he came out and tried to make a little bit of fight of it, got hit some more, stood up, could have fell, could have went to one knee, whatever. He stood up, took the shots, tried to make a fight of it for one round, and and took his beating and went out on a shield.
Ray, there was this perception or a stereotype of the slugger, that Kovalev, like Golovkin, because they hit hard, they must have no fundamental grounding or fundamental skill. But again, these guys are with some very, very good amateur backgrounds.
Exactly.
They have a pedigree. They're well taught. I think to a certain degree, Ray, the surprising thing was the technical dominance of Kovalev, and all he did was something very simple. He jabbed. He varied the jab from distance to speed to the velocity. I think to a certain degree, we could talk about age, we could talk about power. I think Hopkins was also befuddled by the technical, consistency of Sergey Kovalev.
Well, you're absolutely right, Steve, and that's what I'm talking about. The feints. The feints are what got him in, did him in. He feinted, put jab to the body, feint, jab to the head. He was jabbing up and down. A lot of people haven't done that against Biop, And when he would stab Biop to the body, those punches like a straight right hand almost. Those punches hurt. So he kept him at a distance, and he would feint, and Biop was like, it was every time he did it, he was jumping, So I think that had a lot of effect. So Biop didn't know when he was coming, when he was going to throw, and when he wasn't. And then he'd sneak a right hand in. And I don't care, it's like I said, if he hits you on the shoulder, hits you, on the side, he's going to hurt you wherever he hits you. He's just got heavy hands.
The one thing about Kovalev, I think he put Hopkins in a bit of a catch-22. Looking at them physically, you knew which guy, just from the shoulders down, was the real, natural 75. You know what I thought was the worst comparison? And I know they're both white guys.
Yeah.
So everyone talked about it. This is another Kelly Pavlik. That was one of the laziest comparisons I've ever heard.
Not only stupid, just stupidity. Pavlik doesn't have the technical background, amateur background this kid had. doesn't have the skill set to
And that fight was at 170. Pavlik was a middleweight being forced to fight at a very unnatural
Well,
weight.
that's not true. No, that's not true. Pavlik walked around at 72, 73. Killed himself to get down to 60. Killed himself. Pavlik wasn't 160 since he was 14
But
years
didn't he
old.
look flimsy that night against Hopkins? He
just
got knocked around physically that night.
Because
though.
he never trained right. He'd blow up, walk around natural, but then he had to get down to 160. 70 was a natural weight. Trust me when I tell you, I know this kid since he was 10. 70 is a natural weight. Killed himself to get to 160. But when so now he's at his natural weight. But living, you're not training the right way.
So in other words, you shouldn't train on Jack Daniels, but that's another segment for another day. Going back to Kovalev, I think he's a very solid, steady guy. He's 31 years old. Another factor in this fight, he had never been past 7 rounds, but with the pace of that fight, It didn't matter, did it?
No, it doesn't. And first of all, you always hear about he hasn't been past this amount of rounds. And for a fighter, believe me, in your mind, you go, well, I want to know what it's like to go 10. I want to know what it's like to go 12, then 15. I understand. I thought that myself. But the way I train, I know my body was conditioned to do it. I know I was in shape to burn for 10, 12, 15. I know I was in shape to burn for that. So once you get to them later rounds, or as they say, the deep waters, your body takes over. The mind's got to just go on over, like an overdrive. You just put on neutral and let your body take over because your body will kick in. I think he did that in the later rounds. But the fight, like you said, it was a pace that was meant for him. Didn't have to exert himself early in the fight. And so with later rounds, he was cruising and he had no problem with it. B-Hop thought at some point he was going to, I think what B-Hop thought is that Kovalev was going to come and try to overwhelm him and that he'd, catch him, make mistakes, set traps. But Kovalev didn't. Kovalev kept his composure, kept his cool, kept him on the outside of the jab. And then again, thanks to John David Jackson. When he hit him with the right hands, like I said, the first round, when he hit him and he dropped him, I think B-Hop said, oh man, this guy is as heavy-handed as everyone says. And like you said, the comparisons that he's white, plodding, comes forward, like a robotical, that he can't do nothing. I think that went out the window first round.
John David Jackson told me a week and a half before the fight, our planned first 4 rounds do not fall into clinches. We are not going to clinch. So distance and spacing, I thought really exposed some of the age and some of the corrosion of Bernard Hopkins because he's not really that good at moving his feet forward and creating his own offense. So basically, unless you give him fastballs down the middle and you're pitching to him, he's going to have some problems. 2 questions here. Is Adonis Stevenson the linear champion? Is he the best light heavyweight, or is that clearly Kovalev now?
I don't know if it's clear, but I would say Kovalev. But that's a fight I want to see.
Yeah.
That's a fight I want to see. I think it should happen. Like the light heavyweight division hasn't had any excitement for a long time. That's the fight would give us some excitement again. So that fight's got to be made. And
in the perspective of Bernard Hopkins, he's 2 months shy of his 50th birthday. I have to be honest with you, he didn't give any concession speeches about his career.
No.
In fact, he was at the gym on Monday posting pictures working out. So that's a real pro, by the way. He proves one thing. Discipline is a skill, and it's a skill that not enough fighters have today. But with that said, he's still 50. Should that be his swan song?
Well, first of all, Steve, see, the fact that we're talking about a guy fighting at 50, how stupid we sound, let me tell you, I've talked to enough neurologists, I've talked to enough brain surgeons to know. They've once asked me, I said, what do you think of these guys fighting in their 30s, late 30s, early 30s? He said, and they've said to me, Ray, if you were 32, 33, 34, would you let a 21, 22-year-old kid hit you in the head with a baseball bat? And of course you go, no. That's what it's like for the brain. Yeah. That's what concerns me. People don't know. See, you look at it, we're applauding him, looking at him. Marquez, in his late 30s. Not smart. It's not smart. I fear for their health because in 5 years from now, if he doesn't know his own name, then we're going to, oh, poor guy. But we're as much to do with that than anybody.
But Ray, let's take a look at the reality of it, though. Every fighter seems to have a fight where you say that has to be the end. Ali fought after Holmes.
Yeah.
You had a fight with Greg Hagen.
Yeah.
Ray Leonard had a very ill-advised fight against Hector Camacho.
Right.
There's a history here. I get that sinking feeling. Hopkins, we have not seen the last of him.
No, and I think Roy Jones said it best. He'll be fighting again because he wants to go out on his shield. He wants to go out on top. He wants to go out a winner. And Roy Jones said right after the fight, he goes, no, when they asked him, he didn't even have to think about it. Have we seen the last of Bernard Hopkins? No, absolutely not. He'll fight again because ego gets involved. And B-Hop, we know, got a big ego, as big as anybody. And you got to have that. That's a big part of his success. But I don't want to see 50-year-old men fight. I wouldn't pay for it. I mean, once there was a guy who approached me and said, would you do a seniors tour
Oh, boy.
for boxing, and this was years ago. I said, what? I said, golfers do it. He said, golfers do it, tennis players. I said, yeah, I'd like to see the golfers do it. I'd like to see the tennis players. I would not watch fighters do it. I wouldn't want to see it.
Yeah.
No, I want to be part of it. I don't want to see it.
Yeah, last time I checked, right, Gary Player was not getting hit in the head,
Exactly.
and neither was Jack Nicklaus or John McEnroe.
That's the difference. See, Steve, you said they try to compare boxing with boxing with tennis or golf, one-on-one, and I go, yeah, but the ball ain't punching back. The net, you hit it into the net. Oops, ain't nobody knocking you on your ass. And you go, oh man, it ain't nobody scrambling the brains. They don't, the mentality, when people say this, the stupidity when they say it baffles me. So I want to see young blood fight. I don't want to see the old timers fight. It doesn't interest me, it doesn't intrigue me. And it's a natural progression that I don't want to get into a firefight with a young guy or with another fighter. I don't want to get hit like that. So why would I pay to see those guys? I want to pay for action. I want to pay for guys who are going to come on and give me my money's worth. Again, B-Hop, to his credit, got in there. But he hasn't been an action guy, and I've said that last time. He hasn't been an action guy for forever. He never, even when he could fight, it wasn't. He was more of a counter puncher, and he'd outthink guys. But his volume of punches and his work volume was much more. But now he doesn't even do that. He's just settling to the counter punching, which he tried against Kovalev, which didn't work because Kovalev threw him off with the feints, and then he'd stick a jab up and stick the jab down. You said the jab was the key to that fight, but he also outthought him. I thought he outthought him.
So there you have it. Youth was served with Sergey Kovalev defeating Bernard Hopkins. That's it for this segment of Gloves Off with Ray Mancini. This is Steve Kim saying goodbye, everybody.